Hey y'all, come on in. Welcome back. I think I promised I'd show some stitching with my new stitching machine. Like I said, these things are very expensive, and I've wanted one for so many years, just never could afford it. So my wife, Judy, for my retirement Christmas present, she bought me one. But this is, I may need to move you guys around quite a bit, but I want to show you some things when I'm doing stitching anyway. Hopefully I won't have to move you around too much. I'm gonna try to get, I've got you setting off to the side right now because I don't know what'll be the best position yet for the camera. Let's what she got me. It's called the Tandy Pro Cowboy Outlaw. And this thing is oh, I've wanted one for so many years, but they're quite expensive. But it's a manual, just a manual stitching machine. I've got it anchored to the corner of my workbench, and these things are very heavy. So you have to put them on a very stable surface. But there's your hand lever right there. That's the bronze or gold or whatever lever there. That's where that's what you squeeze here to lift the foot for the needle. But it's just I love it. I just absolutely, it's making my new projects, allowing me to move into other areas just so much easier rather than having to hand stitch everything. But it was a learning curve. Just like anything, I had to, if y'all remember, when I showed the moccasin Fiasco, this thing, according to what I've seen and read about it, is it can penetrate up to 3/4 of an inch of leather in a single stroke. And as heavy as this thing is, I have no doubt that it will. But what we've learned though is, I guess in order to do that, that foot pressure is so strong that unless it's flat, it's not going to go through there, because these feet will flatten it back out. But this table right here will come off. There are a couple of screws there that holding it on, and then you've got a lot smaller area out here to where you can get in closer to your needle. I just I love it. I love it. I waited a long time. So anyway, I wanted to get into some stitching. I've been promising that, so let's just get into it. I'll back you guys up again a little bit because I want to show you some things. Now, in these cell phone cases, there is going to have to be some hand stitching. There's just no way to get around it. You're going to encounter that from time to time, even if you get one of these even if you get one of the machines. There's, as I showed in one of the other videos there, you can see now that when I start to close this up, this is going to fold in underneath. This top piece is going to come out over the top of it. As you can tell on the inside, there's just no way you're going to be able to get a machine down in there. You're still going to have to hand stitch it to actually finish it up. Now what I did on these cell phone cases, whenever you're encountering something like that, now this, again, this is just what I do. Let me get back over here. There's a couple of tools that I have that you can get. I'm sorry, I'm going to be moving you guys around quite a bit for this video. But there's a couple of tools that you can get. Here's another good example of that little chalk line that I showed you on that other video. This will be my stitch line. That's where that needle will follow. What I've done on this one is I came in and I measured out and I pre-punched my holes right along in here on the edges, and then I also measured out and pre-punched them along the back side, where when this closes up, then these holes will line up and you'll be where you need to be. But I used the machine first, as you can see, to get all of these other pieces or all of these other areas done, where once I close it up here, you're not going to be able, you're just not going to be able to use the machine. So that's one thing that I do there to start with. And then when you're using a combo, I started the machine in the first or the last hole of where the hand stitcher will go through. That way when I actually join these two pieces together and stitch this part up, then it'll look like a continuous seam all the way through, or a continuous stitching all the way through. Well, what I use to lay these out with is I've got a tool here also from Tandy. These are just, it's just a roller that's got pointed tips on it. And what it'll do is it'll come in and you start right there, and then you just follow your line, and it'll make little indentions in your leather where you need to punch through. And there's, I think I've got a bag of them. There's 3 or 4 different size rollers for different lengths of stitches. If you want a shorter stitch or a smaller stitch, you just change out whatever roller you need to match the stitch that you want. But that's what I use to measure it out and lay it out. And then my hand stitcher, so also again from Tandy. It comes with the needles Comes with a couple of spools. I've got one loaded with black thread now as well as the white thread. Comes with the needle. And what I did on these is what I found is these rollers are a little bit loose in here. In other words, the sides won't come in far enough to really actually hold just a little bit of pressure on it. So I found that it leaves some of the stitches a little bit loose. But what I've done is I just found just a couple of pieces of, I don't even know where they came from. I just found a couple of pieces of little rubber O-ring washers, and I put them in between the spool and this metal. So when I tighten down on this screw, then it puts just a little bit of drag on there. And it keeps it, when you pull back out of your material, then it keeps your lace. It also keeps it from wanting to just snarl up and stuff like that out here on your spool. Really get to be a pain in the rear end sometimes. And then what I'll do in order to, I guess, protect the fingers, is you're going to be jabbing this thing through 2 layers of leather, even though you got some holes punched. And if you got your hands on the inside of that thing and you can't yet feel where that needle is coming through, then it's not going to be a fun time. So what I did on my sacrificial neoprene pad that I use for all my punching and stuff, I just went in on one of the corners and I just cut out a square block out of it. And I'll come in and I'll lay that in there in the center of it. So when I push that needle through, and you have to push on some of it, whatever you're doing, you've got to jam that thing in there. Then my fingers are behind here. And it's not quite so tough on the fingertips. But anyway, I promised I'd show some of the stitching machines, so let's get back over here. It's no different from any other sewing machine. The only difference is it's a lot heavier duty, of course, because you're dealing with leather. And then now what was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, it's just a lot heavier duty. Just makes life it's made life so much easier. What used to take me several days by hand is now down to just a few hours. So let me get the project over here and we'll demonstrate it. Let me get my chair back over here. I'm going to try again to leave things where y'all can see it, but I don't think I'm going to be able to have you guys right in front of me like I normally do. But we'll see. But this machine will automatically adjust to your thicknesses. And I didn't think there was a machine out there that would do that for leather, but This one actually does. But I can go from one thickness of leather down to another. I'm gonna have to be turning that, so let's see if I can get you guys back here enough to where you can still see. And I get down to where my first, like I said, I want to start in that end hole where that manual stitching is going to end. So it'll look like I've got a continuous lace all the way around. It'll look like the machine did it. We'll come into our first hole. We'll make a full stroke. Now I'm going to have to turn it a little bit so I can get back down to my chalk line. There we go. And I'll usually hold on to that thread back there until I've got at least 3 stitches in. But I like the manual as opposed to a motor on it because I can absolutely go as fast or as slow as I want to when I hit the gas pedal. On the motor, I don't want this thing to take off. If I need to reposition, like going around the corner or something, then I can do that. Raise the feet a little bit. I have to reposition to come around that curve. And then I'll just follow my chalk line. Like I said, I wanted the manual one because it moves at my speed. It doesn't move until I want it to. And I've found, for me anyway, I just have much better control over my stitches. But I did have some learning to do on it, I'm not going to kid you. Y'all saw on the moccasins. That was not a pretty trip. Speaking of the moccasins, I wanted to ask y'all a little bit of input on it there, if you don't mind. Ordered some new rabbit skins because I don't, after I get these cell phone cases done, I'm not going to have any more orders to do, at least right away. So I wanted to revisit those moccasins and see if we can't figure out a way to get some of those made for the JBK brand. But I was checking the prices. 6 rabbit pelts from Tandy was, oh, I don't know, I don't remember off the top of my head now, but it was $600-700 for them. And oh well, okay. Now they're large pelts, so doing my earlier measurements, just getting an idea of how many of them it would take. Counting the leather, your time, and all of that. Best we can figure, at least so far, is a pair of handmade rabbit skin fur-lined moccasins. We're going to be pretty close to about $300 after tax, title, license, and all of that. So how can we, and this is kind of where we're stuck, Judy and I are, what can we do to them? What can we add to them? How can we make them unique enough that somebody's going to be willing to lay out $300 for a pair of moccasins? What can we do? How can we really step it up where it'd be something that they would want to do? We've got an idea, and then what I'll do, this is going to be a little bit of a long stitch, but I'm not going to have two. It'll be short stitches right here. So I'll just come out to that hole right there. But anyway, in a nutshell, what, 5-10 minutes, which would have been maybe 2.5 hours by hand, and that's all of the I'm just calling this decorative stitching because it's not going to be under any stress or anything like that. Whenever I put a liner on something, even though it's got that adhesive under it and stuff like that, like I said before, that adhesive over time, it will break down. And so I just put a stitch around the outside of it, so even if it starts to turn loose out here on the edge, then it's not going to be able to come in any further than what that stitch is. I think it just makes a better product. So anyway, that's it. Whenever I'm stitching something, that's pretty much how it is. That's what I use. I'm not going to be able to show any of the hand stitching part of it because it's going to be in such tight quarters that I'm going to have my hands and that pad and that needle and everything else in there, so you're just not going to be able to see a whole lot. So anyway, with that, there it is. Here's my machine. Waited a very long time for it, but it's sure making my life a whole lot more fun and a whole lot more it's just making this part of it so much easier for me. So with that, as always, don't be mean. If you're not willing to treat Jesus that way, then let's not treat each other that way. We're here to have some fun, learn some things, make mistakes, show them so others don't make the same mistakes, and we'll just make some stuff. So anyway, I'll get these cell phones, or I'll get these cell phone cases finished up, and rest of it's just that hand stitching, just just a small area right in here. And that'll be it for them. And after that, like I said, I'm going to revisit the moccasins and see if we can come up with an idea. That'll be just because of the cost of the material in it. See if we can figure out somehow to make something. See if we can make a product that, that somebody will be willing to spend that kind of money on it. Made out of this leather and stuff like that, stitched and everything. I mean, they're going to last a long time. But how many people are still going to be wanting to shell out $300 for a pair of rabbit skin moccasins? But anyway, if you have any ideas of what we can do with them, then drop me an email, and we'll see where that goes. But hopefully that'll start sometime, I guess, towards the end of this week. And with that, until next time, adios.